Greetings, everyone. I'm Trushar Patel. I work at the University of Lethbridge as a Canada Research Chair and Associate Professor. I'm one of the Canadian Science Policy Commission Program Committee members. And I'm really happy, excited to have Mr. Paul Davidson today with us. He's the President and CEO of the University Affairs Canada. Just to give a brief background, so Mr. Davidson joined Universities Canada in 2009, and he brings over 25 years of experience. He's a major player, leader in putting the government sectors, private sectors, and volunteer sectors together, helping the Canadian so to say, population to bring more opportunities with education and training. And of course, he's a keen policy developer as well. So we're going to have some conversation with Mr. Davidson, learn more about University Canada and their plan and so on today. And without further delay, I'd like to ask the first question or the conversation topic to you. Could you please tell us a few things about Universities Canada and their activities?
Terrific. Trushar, it's great to be with you today. The only thing that would be better is if we could be in person at the Canadian Science Policy Conference, but we're delighted to be part of this annual event that's such a milestone in the Canadian research calendar. About Universities Canada, we have 95 members from coast to coast. Universities of all shapes and sizes, some very new, some very old, research intensive, comprehensive. And that diversity is a real strength about the Canadian university system. And our mission is to advance higher education, research, and innovation for the benefit of Canadians. And we're largely known for our work around advocacy. And if you look back at 20 years ago in the first big series of investments in research in Canada, starting in the mid-90s, that was largely the work of Universities Canada and our universities in pushing for that series of investments. And then more recently, we've been involved in things like calling for a report like the Naylor report, participating in that work, and helping set a roadmap for higher education, research, and innovation. Again, diversity is a strength in our membership. And right now, we can see how universities have played such a critical role in responding to the pandemic.
Thank you, and thank you for the insightful answer. So moving on from that topic that you mentioned about, the Universities Canada's role in pushing for the Naylor's report and helping us the securing more funding and so to say more investment. So could you tell a little bit more about the role that University Canada plays, especially towards the research and innovation ecosystems in the country?
Yeah, well, of course, research is fundamental to Canada's success. And I think one of the things the pandemic is showing us is that universities, for students to succeed, universities need to be strong. For research to succeed, universities need to be strong. And for Canada to succeed, universities need to be strong. In the first short days of the pandemic, universities transitioned 1.4 million learners online in about 10 days.
Wow.
The research enterprise pivoted into advancing the search for a cure and for treatment. And also other research was cycled down in a way that was safe and orderly. We also had the chance to repurpose public facilities like the residences so that frontline healthcare workers could stay in residences over the summer and be safe as they continue to do their work. And all this points to that critical role that universities played in the early days of the pandemic and going forward. And that's where the research agenda is so important. Not only in the biomedical sphere, and of course that's taking great priority and attention right now because of the race for a vaccine, but also in the social sciences and humanities as we look at how human behavior is impacted by the pandemic, how we think of new public policy to support people that have been vulnerable and clearly more vulnerable as a result of the pandemic, and how we support the research ecosystem as a strong foundation in Canada.
Thank you. So now moving ahead from the Canadian sort of ecosystem to more of a global system, could you please tell about the Global Excellence Initiative that Universities Canada is really keen to move forward?
Sure, that's one of the projects that we've taken on from David Johnson. When David Johnson, His Excellency the Right Honourable David Johnson, was Governor General of Canada, he was a champion for higher education, research, and innovation. And he noticed that although Canada does extraordinarily good research, we don't always get the recognition we deserve around the world. And so he built an initiative that identifies promising Canadian researchers, those that are worthy of international recognition and support. And we work to advance those very qualified candidates for global awards. And of course, just earlier this month, we saw that Michael Houghton received the Nobel Prize in Medicine, and that's something that all Canadians can be proud of. It's an example of public policy at work, where governments of all various parties have supported research, have invested in excellence, and you see the benefit, not only the work that Dr. Houghton is doing, but also the generations of graduate students that he's working with. And it's those kinds of arguments that we like to use to illustrate that investing in research pays dividends. It pays dividends for Canada, and that the Global Excellence Initiative is just one example to bring luster to that research enterprise.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a great initiative, and thank you for doing this. So, moving on, my next question would be, what are the University Canada's goals and priorities for the next while? And did anything change? So, if you thought about something that you would do this January, and then we had the pandemic since March, and I'm sure you had to navigate a few things and channels and navigate the new sort of meet these challenges. So, could you please tell us something about this?
Sure, and we've had to show, not only Universities Canada, but all the universities had to show how agile they can be, how nimble they can be to respond to the changing external environment. You know, Universities Canada typically works on a multi-year advocacy cycle where we work away in concert with others on a series of investments that will help support the whole ecosystem. Some years it's an emphasis on early career researchers. Some years it's an emphasis on discovery research. Sometimes it's an emphasis on the innovation end of the spectrum. But we tend to work in a multi-year cycle. And the pandemic sort of created both some immediate challenges and some immediate opportunities. And in the first instance, we lobbied very hard to support students. And the student financial aid package that the Government of Canada presented was about 5 times bigger than any other G20 country. And what that's done is it gave a real confidence and certainty to students and families that they could continue their studies. That's important for the health of the sector.
Yeah.
We also worked really hard on supporting researchers and getting emergency support into the research endeavor so that we could both stand down some research activity, but then be able to stand it up quickly as soon as conditions permitted. And then, of course, we saw the billions of dollars in investment in research that's been created as a result of the pandemic. So those are some of the examples of what we have done. Mm-hmm. As we turn to the future, you know, our core message is that universities and research can help accelerate Canada's social and economic recovery. Canada is faring better than most countries around the world in regard to this pandemic. And we have an opportunity coming out of the pandemic to advance our economic recovery as well as a social and inclusive recovery. So in that regard, you know, as we look to the fall economic statement, which may be coming any day now, and by the time this is broadcast, it may have happened. We're hoping to make the case about investments in infrastructure and health, and investments in upskilling and reskilling, and making sure that Canadians develop the talent we need for a global economy. And then turning into the forthcoming budget, which we would expect in spring of 2021. We're really excited about the potential for knowledge mobilization, for how we take the discoveries that are made and working with business and civil society to advance them into the community, advance them into the marketplace, advance them into the world in a way that improves lives, creates jobs, and helps fuel Canada's prosperity.
Thank you. I really like the point of knowledge mobilization initiative. I think we really need to work on it, and it'll be great for the community. And
we've been scanning the world and looking at best practices all over the world to say what works, because this has been a tough nut to crack in Canada. You know, there is a reputation that universities and business and civil society each work in silos. And so we're trying to find more places for collaboration, more places for interaction, more places for dynamism. And really it's people and ideas that are going to fuel Canada's future. And where do you find people and ideas but in the university sector?
Yeah, no, I agree. This is a great initiative, and I really appreciate Universities Canada doing it. So talking about all these complex initiatives that you are doing, and mostly working close to universities, as I understand, University Canada works really close to universities. Is there anything you would want to tell to community or the government, or any message that you want to give out that I have missed so far?
Well, I think thanks for the opportunity. And again, we work closely with the Canadian Science Policy Conference to make sure that the issues we're working on are being discussed and unpacked at the conference. And also that we work collaboratively. Like partnership is really important to Universities Canada. So in previous eras, when we've been working around the Naylor Report, for example, we worked with graduate students and we worked with the universities and we worked with the health sector. And building large coalitions of support is really important. Also, how to make the issues that are a concern to us a concern to everyday Canadians. And I think we've got a great opportunity in Canada right now. Like the world is looking for a vaccine. The world is looking for treatment. The world is looking for a cure. And biomedical research will certainly lead us there. And it's going to lead us there faster than at any time in world history. The work is being done around the world, and it's being done collaboratively. So it's a great moment for researchers and the research enterprise, the research ecosystem, and universities to reach out to governments, to civil society, to the private sector, to articulate how important we are to the future of the country. And I might just go a little bit further, if I may, that coming out of 2008 and 2009, the last big recession,
global recession,
people really said, wow, thank goodness the Canadian banking system was as solid and secure and was able to help us weather the storm. Well, I think it's fair to say that in 2020, as we go through the pandemic, universities have been central to helping Canada weather the storm through the research we provide, through the education we provide, and through the support we can provide in transitioning and accelerating our social and economic recovery. If you look around the world, very few university systems have been as nimble or agile or able to adjust to the realities of the pandemic. And this stands us in a very good place as we come out of it. And so, of course, we'll be chatting with government about how to invest, where to invest, how to make sure the researchers across the country have the resources and the tools they need to do their best work.
Thank you. And as a university faculty member who does active research and teaching, I echo your message. Universities across Canada are working really hard to ensure the research and the teaching is not interrupted throughout this pandemic. And I thank you for your support and your help. So having said that, I'd like to end this our short conversation. I really thank you for your time and your suggestions and working effortlessly as University Canada as the organization. And hopefully we'll meet again for the next year's conference. We look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.